The devastation. The devastation. So Donald Trump attended this Al Smith dinner, which is an annual white tie dinner in New York City that raises funds for Catholic charities. Now, Donald Trump spoke at this dinner where he absolutely roasted everyone. And not only that, but he completely emasculated Chuck Schumer, Tim Walz, and also this little group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you heard of them? That's right. All of their man cards have been completely revoked, and they have probably gone into hiding due to the public humiliation that they received. Now, Tim Walz was not in attendance. Chuck Schumer was. And it's very interesting because Chuck Schumer is sitting right to the left of Donald Trump as Donald Trump is giving this speech, taking these jabs at these people. And also another notable person that was in attendance was Letitia James. But someone who wasn't in attendance was Kamala Harris, of course, which not only did Trump mock, but the comedian Jim Gaffigan as well, who prior to Trump's speech dropped some pretty amazing bombs. So we're going to take a look at these. And also we're going to see what did Kamala Harris actually do? Because she didn't attend, but she released this pre-recorded, skit. I don't even know. But I'm going to show it to you guys at the end. And it's pretty awkward. Let me know what you think. Now, let's start here with Chuck Schumer. Now, Chuck Schumer, who you can see is sitting directly to Trump's left, your right, is sitting there. He does not look too happy. But Donald Trump drops this amazing roast on Chuck Schumer where he says, if Kamala Harris is not able to, push through and get elected as president, Chuck Schumer, considering how woke the Democrat Party has become, has the opportunity to run and become the first United States president who is a woman. Listen.
Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? He looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
So that's it. Chuck Schumer, he's done. He's sitting there. And, it's got to be a kind of an interesting situation because, these are people that absolutely just despise Donald Trump with every core of their being. So they got to sit here and, this is politics. So they have to put on the show that they're not affected. And he's trying to be, look kind of good natured about things. But you can see, if you really look, I know some of these shots are a little bit blurry, but if you really look, Chuck Schumer has this glare that's like lasers coming out of his eyes. And when Donald Trump said this, he tried to laugh it off and he did his little, Chuck Schumer like fist pumps. But inside, you could tell that he just wanted to die. And then, of course, he did this one right here, which is probably one of my favorite lines by Donald Trump of the night when he went after this group called White Dudes for Harris. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was this, I almost said big group. I don't know how big it was, but there was a bunch of white guys who went on this Zoom call where they were talking about Kamala Harris and they were trying to raise hype for Kamala Harris amongst, white guys, because this is a demographic that Kamala Harris desperately needs that she has almost zero support from. And it's kind of funny because when you watch the Zoom call, I didn't watch the entire thing, of course. I just saw some clips, but they all have a very specific look, okay? And this is probably what Donald Trump means when he said this. He said that White Dudes for Harris, their wives and their wives' lovers are voting for Donald Trump, essentially calling them all cocks. Listen.
There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Does anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me.
Oh, the devastation. The devastation. So if you are a white dude and if you're for Kamala Harris, I'm sorry. I mean, it's clear. The choice has never been more clear. So to preserve your masculinity now, you have to. You have to vote for Trump. So follow your wife's lead and your wife's lover's lead and just vote for Trump, okay? You have to at this point. Now, someone else who was not safe from Donald Trump's attacks was Tim Walz, and Tim Walz got it on two fronts. He got it on his femininity, and he also got it on his propensity to lie about where he was. Now, this is Donald Trump talking about Tim Walz and how woke the Democrat Party has become, and he thinks it's crazy that, they say that men can get periods, but then he's like, then I met Tim Walz, and then it all made sense. Watch.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz.
And then, of course, there was this one where he went after Tim Walz in his lying mouth. Remember when Tim Walz said he was in China during the Tiananmen Square protests? And that turned out to be an entire fabrication, which was aired out to the public during his debate with J.D. Vance. And it was probably the most devastating and awkward part of that debate and any other debate we have ever seen. But listen to Donald Trump absolutely massively take apart Tim Walz and how he says he's places that he hasn't been. Listen.
I'd like to thank our MC this evening, Jim Gaffin. Most recently, Jim has been playing Tim Walz on Saturday Night Live. And that'll be a very short gig, I hope, Jim. But it was fun while it lasted, wasn't it? Let's see how that lasts. It better be quick. We don't want him, and I'm not going to say anymore. But unfortunately, Governor Walz isn't here himself, but don't worry, he'll say that he was. He's going to say he was.
But if you ask me, the best lines of the night didn't really come from Donald Trump. They were most certainly the funniest lines of the night, okay? But I think some of the ones that really ring true the most came from the comedian Jim Gaffin, who came up prior to Trump, and he dropped some jokes. But some of the stuff that he said really coming from someone, and this is a guy, Jim Gaffin is a guy who had major TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. I remember seeing him on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan is a guy who's, he's pretty middle of the road, pretty fair. He doesn't have TDS, but at the same time, he's not like a Trump fan. He tries to treat everything kind of like fairly. I don't know. It's Joe Rogan is kind of in a class of his own, but he was talking to Jim Gaffin, and they were talking about January 6th, and Jim Gaffin was 100% radicalized against Donald Trump. And Joe Rogan was trying to explain to him, what was going on during January 6th and how, there was most likely 100% agent provocateurs. Just if you look at the way some of these people that were encouraging people to go into the Capitol, how they were acting and that they didn't get charged and the FBI didn't go after them, but they went after these other Trump supporters. And you could kind of see during that conversation with Joe Rogan, Jim Gaffin seemed to get a little bit red-pilled. So I wonder if that is what led to some of what he said at this Al Smith dinner. Listen how he talks about how the media and the Democrat Party are always accusing Donald Trump of being the threat to democracy. And then he takes their hypocrisy, packages it up, balls it up, and just slings it right in their face. Listen.
The Democrats have been telling us Trump's reelection is a threat to democracy. In fact, they were so concerned of this threat, they staged a coup, ousted their democratically elected incumbent, and installed Kamala Harris. In other words, all her dreams have come true. Really? It really makes you consider the power of prayer, right, Cardinal? Sometimes prayers take 3.5 years and a George Clooney op-ed. Yeah.
So that was absolutely brutal. Also, I thought it was kind of interesting how he interjected into his speech that Joe Biden and his entire family might be secretly voting for Donald Trump. Listen.
The media has begun discussing the phenomena of secret Trump voters. I don't know if you've heard about this. People who publicly say they would never vote for Trump, but then when they go in the voting booth, they do. It's a small group. They're called the Biden family.
And he also went after Kamala Harris for not attending this dinner, which has historically been attended by both presidential candidates, both Republicans and Democrats, because Catholics represent of course, like I said before, a massive swath of voters. And this is like, as he describes, the Catholic Met Gala. Listen.
This event has been referred to as the Catholic Met Gala. 22% of Americans identify as Catholic. Catholics will be a key demographic in every battleground state. I'm sorry, why is Vice President Harris not here?
Yeah, so where was Vice President Kamala Harris? Well, Kamala Harris was in Wisconsin, but she did film a little sketch for the Al Smith dinner. And guys, it is probably one of the cringiest things I have ever seen.
Cool. Oh, sorry.
Hey, what's going on? Who was that?
Oh, sorry, Mary Catherine Gallagher. Mary Catherine Gallagher. It's so nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, Mary Catherine. Right now I'm trying to record my speech for tonight's dinner.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just want to say that I'm Catholic, and tonight is one of the biggest dinners next to the Last Supper.
It is a very important dinner, and it's an important tradition that I'm so proud to be a part of.
Sometimes when I get nervous, I stick my fingers under my arms and I smell them like that.
Okay, that's enough of that. So that is what Kamala Harris released on, I guess, the biggest dinner right next to the Last Supper, like this Catherine Gallagher, who I guess she plays some sort of like fictional role in some other TV show. I think she's on Saturday Night Live. And they released like this 2.5, 3-minute sketch, which was part of her address to this dinner. And it was not funny at all. Very cringe. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the Al Smith dinner? Did you watch the whole thing? If you haven't seen this whole speech by Donald Trump, I encourage you to watch it. You can find it on X. You can probably find it on YouTube. It's very good. It's very funny. And even what's his name? Mr. Potato Head over at CNN. I forget his name. Even he said that Donald Trump was funny and charming, and it's just a very good watch. But what did you guys think about this? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.